All right. Hey, ClickBank, how's it going? It's good to see all of you. That music just reflects the love I feel for every single one of you for having me up here today. 19 years ago, almost to the day, September of 1999. It was a week, I remember it because it was a week before my birthday. And you remember what your birthday was like when you were 12 and 13 years old, right? I remember saying to my mom once, I was like, hey, Mom, you know my birthday is only 4 months away. We better start planning. That's a launch. That's like, Mom, we're doing pre-lunch 4 months ahead of time. All right, just reserve it on your calendar. There's going to be a football party and pizza and cake. Got it? That's the affiliate prize for having the best birthday ever. I'm thinking about my birthday 4 months ahead. It's September. It's a week before my birthday. My family tradition was, for me anyway, we would throw football parties. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. We just had our first win in 2 years a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we're 1-32, everybody. Cleveland best right there. And so we would throw these fall football parties. And it would be muddy and about 60 degrees, and we would play tackle football, and we're like 9, 10, 11 years old, beating each other up at Snow Road Park. That's where we would play in Cleveland, Ohio. We'd get money, go home, have pizza, have cake. It was a blast. So a week before my birthday, my mom calls me into my room. And I'm pumped because I'm ready to go over the plan for my birthday. So I run into my bedroom, and I did like, do you remember the old, when you would do like splash contests in your pool, and you would do like cannonballs, and then there was one, it's called a can opener. You would hold one leg up and like slam into the pool. I did that move onto my bed, and I had this really kind of bouncy bed. So I did like a can opener onto my bed, and my mom like does one of these on the bed and looks at me kind of annoyingly. And she calls my brother in as well, and I figure he's going to be part of the birthday party. And my dad comes in, and we all sit down on my twin bed and my brother's twin bed. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go over the plan for my 12th to 13th birthday. And I open my mouth to speak, but my mom beats me to the punch. She sees me open my mouth, and she does like one of these, like, hold off. I said, okay, my mom's got something special planned. It's going to be an even more special birthday party this year. And both my parents look at me, and my mom says, I've asked your dad to leave. And that was the day that I bought into the lie that I was alone. That was the day that I bought into the lie that I had to figure it all out on my own. For the next year and a half, I decided no one was going to take care of me, that I was going to have to figure out my own life. And I looked for any sort of support, any sort of mentorship that I could cling to during that time. And I had a friend in middle school. His name was Pete Simble. I probably shouldn't say his name out loud. His name was Schmeat Pimble. And I wanted to be like Pete, because Pete was voted all-around best student. Pete actually lost 85 pounds between 7th and 8th grade, so he was a fitness buff. Pete also would read like Warren Buffett books in 8th grade, and I wanted to be like Pete. Pete introduced me to the cool people in school, because I had just transferred from a very, very conservative Christian school into the public school for the first time. And I clung to Pete. I wanted to be like Pete. I look at yearbooks now. If I was running for Supreme Court, everybody would be looking through my yearbooks right now. And I look at my yearbooks now, and I notice I dressed like Pete, too. And I notice, if you go deep into my yearbook photos, I'm not smiling in any of my photos, and neither was Pete. I was modeling all of Pete's behavior. I so badly wanted to be like this person. because I felt so alone in that time. I was clinging to anybody who would bring me into something, some sort of belonging. And one day, I made a joke at the lunch table. And Pete looked up at me, and he kind of shrugged his shoulders, and he did one of these. He says, "Ryan, I really find you annoying, and I'm only friends with you because I feel sorry for you." And that was the day that I bought into the lie that I wasn't enough. I never went back to the lunch table the rest of the year. Instead, I went and I hung out in the computer lab. I hid in the computer lab. I had a teacher. Her name was Terry Blackiston. She taught me HTML programming. For those of you who came into the internet marketing world after 2007, HTML was this thing you would code on dial-up computers when you couldn't afford a web designer. And when I was 13 years old, I was, nerd alert, I was hand-coding RPG wrestling sites from my dial-up computer in my bedroom. Yeah, 14 4K modem, what up? And my brother turns to me one day when I'm 13 and I'm hand-coding this site, because like now this became my outlet. This became my sense of meaning. I had something I was fairly good at. Computers, hand-coding, it was like :P:, that was a paragraph. A href equals, that was a link. I'm hand-coding these RPG wrestling websites, and my brother turns to me and goes, "You know, I think you could probably make money doing that." I was like, that is not going to be my life and career, okay? I'm not going to be working online for my career. Thank you, that's adorable. Until one day, I was working a part-time job at Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. We called it the DD Cafe. Keep it cool. You know, girls would be like, "Where do you work?" "I work at the DD Cafe." Yeah. And and I remember when I was 16 years old, we had this little tip cup, and my goal was to bring home like $5 extra a night. I remember I emptied out the tip jar, and I had like $5.60. I'm super pumped. And I went to bed, and I would be kind of wired coming home from work. If any of you ever had a real job, you remember if you worked late at night, you'd be kind of jittery at the end of the day. And so I remember it was late at night. I had school the next day, and I felt that kind of jitteriness in bed, and I was finally starting to relax and start to go to sleep. And I heard this very hurriedly opening of my door, and it swung open. And from where I was in bed, there was a light in the hallway, and my mom was standing in front of the light, so there was kind of this shadow over her. And I opened my eyes, kind of surprised, and I could hear this like panic in her voice where she said, "Ryan, the washing machine isn't working." "Okay, and? Did you tighten the screw at the end of the washing machine?" "No, I didn't know I had to tighten the screw at the end of the washing machine." "Well, it's broken and it isn't working." Turned out to be a $50 repair that she made me pay for, which really confused me just because even I knew that my 10 days of my $5 tip cup could pay for this washing machine. Why was my mom so panicked at this idea? I don't think it was the $50. It was just the frustration of yet another setback financially, another thing that was unexpected, my mom's recurring stress over this idea of a broken washing machine. And for whatever reason, that memory stood out to me as a moment where I was like, I am not going to live my life like this. I had a mentor at the time who was teaching me about real estate investing. And so what I did was I wrote a letter to this investment company that had opened up in my very small town just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. They were called EIC Homes or EIC Investors. And I wrote them a letter. I was like, come let me intern for you. And they paid me $5.50 an hour to come in and help them close deals, to help them clean up their website, to help them clean up their client files. I would call banks for short sales. And one day they sat me down and they're like, hey, we have this idea for a book. We want to create a book about selling your home really quickly. You're a pretty good writer. Would you help us take this to market? And so I researched all of these different ideas and all these different ways that you could publish a book on the internet. And I came across this place called ClickBank. And it's 2005, 2006. And we published this book on ClickBank, and I had no idea what this world was. But as I dove into it further, I was like, I wonder if I could raise a few bucks on the internet in order to fund some real estate deals. And so I go back home and I start hand coding HTML websites like I had done many times in the past. And I remember July 13th, 2006, I'm at EIC Investors. Just for fun, I log into my affiliate account to see if there was anything in there or to grab a hop link or something. And I saw two bars. One for $44 and one for $66. I'd made $100 on ClickBank. And that was the beginning of a journey that would span all the way until today. I ended up going to college with a business that was making a few $100s a day. That's when I dove into things like search engine optimization. I remember my mom called me. I got my second check was for $2,000. And my mom called me and asked me, at this Christian college where I was studying to be a pastor, she asked me what illegal activity I was involved in, where this company called clickbank.com was sending me checks. What was I hustling on the internet? And I said, it's called search engine optimization. And I dove into YouTube, which was brand new at the time. I dove into search engine optimization. I learned Google Ads. It was basically my training ground for learning all of these different areas to be in front of audiences and to sell products. I learned email marketing. Back then, you had to, there were very few services to send out emails. There was no WordPress. I was using iWeb and HTML. iWeb was actually used back then. It wasn't one of the applications on your Mac that you never opened. There were very few tools that exist today. And because of that, basically, that incubation that was made possible by the good folks at ClickBank, some of whom are still around to this day, I asked myself the question, maybe I don't have to go down the pastoral route, because that was really convenient, because I was pretty sure I didn't believe in God. So that pivot, that moment, that $44 that showed up in my ClickBank account ended up setting the stage for a completely new life. And I just want to publicly thank the folks at ClickBank and those who put on this event for having that type of an impact on my life and the impact of every single person in this room and the people that we never meet, the people we never hear about, people that we would never have met if it wasn't for this place. So thank you for everything that you do and what you have done at ClickBank. Now, a few years into that game, after studying email marketing, after studying YouTube, after studying search engine optimization, purely as a way to discover how to make money, purely as a way to not work a traditional job, purely as a way to try and ensure that I was taken care of, so if I wanted to go down the 9-to-5 route or if I wanted to go down a different route, I could figure it out and have the money to fuel all of that. Purely by doing that, I learned all these different skill sets, and I saw the power of getting in front of an audience and giving them what they wanted. And I remember a few years into it, right at the peak of like the Commission Blast 2.0 breakthrough software that'll throw money into your ClickBank account, I went to this event where there were a bunch of marketers, the marketers that none of us really like to hang out with, but seem to do really well in our space, the ones that kind of drip ego. I remember being at one of the after parties in an event where a bunch of them were there, and the keynotes were over, and I went to the mixer, and I heard this guy. I think his name was Darren. I don't remember his last name, but I think his name was Darren. And he was mentioning his product, and I remember seeing his product really high in the ClickBank marketplace. And I heard him talking about his business, and I asked him this question. I was like, hey, who writes your copy? He's like, I write my copy. I said, like, who are your affiliates? And he's telling me, I'm like, tell me more about your business model. And he tells me how he has this group of friends. They all do launches together, and then, they drive up the gravity, and they all rank, so they get fresh blood, and they go on to the next person. And I said, it kind of sounds like you just run a big circle jerk. And he was like, well, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, I don't think I want to be like you. I don't think I want to operate with this just like, how much can I get? How much can I extract? And I went up to, a few months later, I ran into one of my mentors. Most of you know him. His name is Perry Belcher. How many of you know Perry? And I said, like, Perry, look, I don't know that this whole, like, info marketing game is my jam. Like, I just don't really like the people I've been hanging out with. Look, I think I was 24, 25 at the time. I was like, look, if you were 25, single, could do anything, what would you do? And he says, as many chicks as possible. And I was like, all right, thanks. I just graduated from super Christian college. What would be your second choice, Perry? And he said, you know what I would do? I'd sell stuff. All these hopes and dreams are great, but at the end of the day, people want to buy stuff. People want something that they can hold, and that's never going away. Ah, interesting. Well, my background was at ClickBank. My background was in search engine optimization. My background was in Google AdWords. So I had a particular set of skills that I wasn't quite sure how it would apply to physical products. So I started to look at the different marketplaces that exist at the time where people are buying physical products. And Amazon Prime was just kind of starting to bud. That realization was like, I buy everything on Amazon. That was just starting to happen. And I could sort of start to see a trend that physical products were starting to consolidate around online marketplaces, just like the info world had ClickBank. And I started to see, when you have a review on Amazon, or if you take a sale on Amazon, it's kind of like a link on Google. Or if you've got outside traffic going to Amazon, it's kind of like when you have an affiliate that promotes on ClickBank. And when you rank for a keyword on Amazon, it's kind of like you're showing up in the marketplace on ClickBank. And I'm starting to see these similarities of, if I can get my products to show up on Amazon, if I can start getting my conversion rate up on Amazon, well, then there would be a flood of customers, just like I experienced when I was selling info products. When I would put out an info product and it would rank in ClickBank's marketplace, I would get this flood of traffic that I wasn't even sure where it came from. Or if I got one of my affiliate sites to rank in Google, I would get all this traffic, and I wouldn't quite be sure where it came from. I could do the exact same thing on Amazon with the physical product. And so that was when I decided, all right, I'm going to go give this a shot. And I took $600 and ordered my first round of inventory. That first round of inventory I then put on Amazon.com, and did our old school traditional. Now, I was entering a market where I had no email list. I had no YouTube presence. I had to develop this from scratch. And so I decided to go and invest the same type of time and energy that I would have put into an affiliate site, but into physical products that were listed for sale on Amazon.com. And started to see the snowball start to build. I remember first sale, June 5th, 2013, $28. And my partner and I are stoked. Our first product took its sale on Amazon.com. We got that product to 25 sales a day, and we were the #1 product in its category at the time, which is crazy to think about now. So we said, all right, tell you what, it's going to take 4 of these products to be at 100 sales a day, and 100 sales a day is $1 million business. This is where we're going. We're going straight into this. So we release product number 2. We get it to 25 sales a day. Now, the strange thing that happened is that when the second product hit 25 sales a day, the first product sales doubled. It's now doing 50 sales a day. And when that doubled, the second product started to grow. And then we released a third product, and all of a sudden we're doing 150 sales, 200 sales a day, and the snowball kept on going, just like it gets going when you bring on affiliates at ClickBank. Just like the snowball starts to build, like you're building a search engine site or an audience. The snowball started to bud. It started to build. Fast forward 4 years. In June of last year, a private equity group approached us. We sold that business. I sold a majority stake in that business for an 8-figure check, and now my mom will never have to worry about a broken washing machine ever again. Now, over the last few years, I have been teaching a lot of new entrepreneurs how to develop a physical products brand and get the snowball rolling. And we've seen some pretty amazing success stories. I have one team. The main partner's name is Jeremiah. Jeremiah is 20 years old and just sold a company for $4 million. And it was just running bands, running gear. I have one student. His name is Brendan. Has sold a couple of companies. One of them for more than $9 million. I have one student who had a supplement company, and I believe the transaction is done. Last I had heard, he had LOI for over $30 million. And these are all businesses that were built in the last 3 years. But here's the weird part that I don't get. All of these entrepreneurs are new entrepreneurs who know nothing about internet marketing. And if you have this much of an audience, if you have this much of a following, if you have buyers, there is a physical products brand waiting to be built, launched, and given to your existing customers that not only gives you a more sellable and scalable business, it legitimizes your info business. It legitimizes all of the content that you've been putting out into the world. It actually enhances the loyalty and the responsiveness of your customers. For example, actually, let's talk about this. There were 2 major events that happened in the last 2 years that if you didn't see the trend of where things are going, this will point it out to you. The first, I don't know if you heard, but Amazon made a major acquisition about 1.5 years ago. Does anybody remember what they bought? Whole Foods, right. They paid $13 billion for it. That was the first part. The second acquisition that happened was Kellogg's bought a little boutique CrossFit company, a CrossFit food company. Does anybody remember who it was? RX Bar. They bought RX Bar, a company that was 4 years old, started in the founder's basement, served the CrossFit community specifically. That's why it's called the RX bar. And there is some debate over what they sold for. It puts it between $400 and $600 million. 4-year-old company. Now, the interesting thing about that transaction was that they started by serving a very, very small audience. Most of the people who have eaten an RX bar don't know what RX means. They don't realize that it's a reference to the CrossFit community. They're serving a very, very narrow audience that ends up taking the brand much bigger. The same is true if you go into any Whole Foods now, which is owned by Amazon, you might see a particular company has big banners all over the place. They've created a strategic partnership with Whole Foods. Does anybody know the company I'm talking about? It's Bulletproof. Walk into any Whole Foods and you'll see Bulletproof signage, and you'll see dedicated retail space to Bulletproof all over the place. Now, this is interesting because most of us remember when Dave Asprey was just a blogger and a podcaster who sold a couple of books. His first book was a pregnancy book, and then he had the early phases of the Bulletproof diet. And all of a sudden, he has a physical products brand that is doing hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, how did this happen? This happened because Dave had a very, very narrow and a very passionate audience who was able to serve directly what they wanted and make their journey, make their hero's journey a little bit easier. Now, this addresses a really interesting point that comes up when we're talking about making the pivot from being an info marketer to a physical product seller. How do you make your product stand out among all of the other competitors? If you're selling a supplement, how does that stand out versus somebody else's supplement? If you're selling a protein bar, how do you make that stand out separately than a different protein bar? Well, Dave entered the most competitive category in the world, coffee. How do you make coffee stand out? The same way that you make your weight loss info stand out. The same way that you make your work from home offers stand out. The same way you make your personal development info stand out, by addressing a very specific pain point. Sometimes it's a pain point that was made up. My favorite example of this, we were talking about it last night at dinner. The best commercial I've ever seen in my life was for Crest White Strips. You have two amazingly hot women at a table talking to each other saying, I have a question. Are my teeth yellow? And one hot girl says to the other, well, have you taken the tissue test? What's the tissue test? Hands her a tissue. She holds the bleached tissue up to her teeth because no teeth in the world are that white. And she looks at a mirror and says, oh, they're yellow. All teeth are yellow compared to a bleach-ass white tissue. They've now created a problem that can only be solved with one thing: Crest White Strips. They invented a problem that was universal for their target market. Who's the target market? For the most part, women who care about beauty. That was their market. They invented a pain point to sell more white strips. I wonder if you could do that with coffee and sell millions and millions of dollars worth of coffee. Now, I have made the case that if Dave had wanted to be a coffee company, his second product probably would have been a dark roast. But it wasn't. Now, why is that? It was because his customer is on a journey. And the customer journey is not about buying more coffee. It's about optimizing human performance. So the next thing that he rolled out was what? Hey, remember the second product? Is an MCT oil. You're going to put that in your coffee. Now, all the people that he influences around the world are putting MCT oil in their mycotoxin-free coffee. 2 pain points solved, 2 products now in the bulletproof line. And then it was collagen, then it was bars, then it was travel butter, and on and on and on it goes. And now you have an individual influencer who has built a company that's in retail stores all across the world, recognized all across the world, and has basically resuscitated the higher fat movement. That's the impact that every single person in this room has. A very interesting thing happened. This changed my mindset on this whole internet marketing world. It was back in 2009. Does anybody know the investor Carl Icahn? Carl Icahn, legendary investor, he puts out a tweet. And the tweet was that he believed that Apple stock was undervalued. That's all. Just a little bit of commentary about Apple stock being undervalued. Can anybody guess what happened to Apple stock the next day? It soared. Billions of dollars got added to the market value of the company Apple. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my goodness, you can totally influence human behavior on a global scale. That's what happens when you have a responsive audience. That's what happens when you have the ability to click send and make money. That's what happens when you have people who trust the information that you've put out in the world over several years. And yet here I am. I have all these entrepreneurs that have no following, that are starting from scratch, that are building physical products brands, selling them for millions and millions of dollars. Meanwhile, there are info marketers and people who are influencers and have audiences that could bring a flamethrower to a knife fight. And they don't even know it. I was talking at lunch. I made the argument that your info business, your following, everything that you have done up until this point, all of your emails, all of your social media followers, all of your buyers, what they have done up until this point is they've given you a platform. It's given you a platform to launch your real business. And your real business is the one that the customer holds in their hand. And the best part about that is when you ship the product to them and they hold it in their hand, you're done. There is no, this didn't work, it's a scam. It showed up. It arrived on time. And because you have the ability to literally take your customers who have already voted with their dollars, that you are the information source that they want to follow, that amount of influence brought over into any channel, just like you would mail for an affiliate, just like you would see another product show up higher in the marketplace, has an immense impact on how Amazon or any other place where you're taking an order weighs your product. And because you are halfway good at copy, because you have distribution, because you have some sort of customer loyalty within your business, all of these customers will buy at higher price points, giving you healthy profit margins. Side note, many of the physical products brands that I work with are comparing themselves to other physical products brands that are selling on Amazon or wherever their marketplace is. But all of you know that value is subjective. With good copy, with good branding, or with good addressing of pain points, which we'll cover here in a second, you can drive up profit margins, which allows you to stay profitable in the rollout process of your physical products brand. Now, one mistake that a lot of marketers and business owners will make at this point is they're outlining, all right, I've got this following. If I were to bolt on a physical products brand to this existing business, how would I do this in a way that didn't sabotage my existing business while also competing in a marketplace that I'm not sure how to stand out in? Now, if I send my traffic to a video sales letter, I can keep them dedicated on this page and thinking only about my product. But if I send them over to Amazon, I'm going to be competing with all of these other products. Or even if I'm in a retail store, I'm going to be on the shelf with all of these other products. And the way you do this is you do this by targeting a micro brand. Dave Asprey's Bulletproof is known all over the world for human performance, which started out as a very, very niche following. A fairly well-sized podcast with an email list and a blog. That's how it started. And because he focused all in on that audience, he had much higher price points, which gave him the profitability to roll out additional products. And it allowed him to have superfans, the superfans that carried the torch on his behalf. The same is true with RX Bar. They started targeting the CrossFit community. They developed a brand specifically for the CrossFit community. The CrossFit community became raving fans of this, started demanding that it would be in retail stores, and it spread all over the world. The same is true with Quest Nutrition. Quest was a first mover in the fiber-based protein bar. Do you know how they launched the business? They launched it with Facebook groups. When they were just a brand new thing, they had these little tiny communities where they would give out the product to health influencers, get feedback, and that was their market, and those were the advocates. Those were the influencers that started to talk about the brand. And that brings me to another interesting observation that in this world, in the physical products world, influencers are the new affiliates. It's a distribution play. It's distribution married with a marketplace, and if you're addressing a very specific person and a very specific pain point, all of a sudden we have the lever that we can pull to put a physical products brand on the map. And what this does, when other people are consuming your product, when they have it in your house, within their house, I guess sort of mentor of mine, somebody I really look up to in this world is named Brian Lee. He was the co-founder of The Honest Company with Jessica Alba. And Brian, I heard him say at an event once, he said, I consider it a win when my product is in my customer's house. I don't care where they bought it from. I care that it's in their home. When it's in their home, when other people are seeing it, that's when you've won that person over. Your customers are craving some sort of physical touch point from you and your business. And you're depriving them if all you are selling them is information. You're depriving them if all you're doing is selling other people's physical products. The way that you ultimately make your money in business is when you have an asset that you can sell. And I view the information game as a way to build up the army, to build up the influence, to be able to take that and point it to the asset that I know I can use to impact millions of people. Your platform, your following, up to this point has allowed you to, like a laser beam, focus it at a physical products brand, which is ultimately, if you look at the marketplace right now, if you look at what private equity groups are courting, they're courting those types of brands. I have a colleague who just spoke at one of our events. His name is Moiz Ali. Started a business called Native Deodorant. Anybody heard of Native Deodorant? Both of you. Awesome. Point made. Native Deodorant was a natural deodorant that started with some very small audiences. Unilever sees market share going towards the natural crowd, the natural community. They paid $100 million for that brand 2 years in. 2 years in. And all of you are sitting on an audience that has given you money, given you their email address, follows your content, and the thing that is most sellable is for you to bolt on the thing that they'll consume in their home as a way to take action on the information that you've previously sold them. So let's go through that. You guys are familiar with the hero's journey, correct? Hero's journey, the call to adventure. They go on the call to adventure and they meet you, the mentor. You're the mentor in your customer's hero's journey. And your job is to guide the hero, to guide the customer along the different challenges that they're going to make along their hero's journey until they return home as the hero. Whether that is, I've decided I'm going to lose weight. Oh, snap, what am I going to have for breakfast? Or that is, I'm struggling in my marriage, but we're going to figure this out. He disconnected from me. What do I do now? Or it's, I am going to build a business. I'm on the call to adventure. I meet you. Snap, what product do I sell? These are the challenges that your customer is asking you to solve on their hero's journey. And they are desperately asking you to sell them something that allows it to be easier for them to fulfill their hero's journey that you're already serving them on. And if they don't get it from you, they're going to go to someplace else. I think, I mentioned them before, but I think a company that does this maybe better than any other company in the world is Quest. Quest Nutrition. They say, let's make a macro-balanced protein bar, and then let's make macro-balanced foods for every snack that our customers would already be eating. Oh man, I really crave cookies. All right, let's make a keto cookie. Oh man, I really miss gluten. All right, let's make a protein powder you can bake with. Their focus has always been on removing the obstacle of allowing their customer to fulfill their hero's journey however they see best fit. Drew would be a great example of talking about juicing for years until the day comes when he says, why don't we just make it really easy for our customers to do this? And Drew's done okay. All of you are serving customers that are on a journey that are going to hit pitfalls along the way. And the best thing you can do for them is give them the opportunity to buy something that makes it as easy as possible for them to take the next step on their hero's journey. And it complements what you are doing. It does not detract from it. So what I'd like to go through with you is a little bit of a 12-month rollout. A little bit of a plan of how you might approach this so that it supplemented your existing business rather than detracted from your existing business. Because we're entrepreneurs, so we're going to get an idea, go down a rabbit hole, pursue it for 6 months, and get distracted and do something else. But if there's a way for us to make a little pivot in this direction, dip our toe in the water, the momentum picks up incredibly quickly because this is the demand of customers, this is the demand of investors, this is the demand of business buyers. They want these types of businesses. When you have companies like Unilever and other private equity groups coming in, they're buying up physical products brands because that's the fastest way that they can innovate. They all want something that you have, which is a loyal audience that does what you tell them to do, buys what you tell them to buy. That's powerful. That's more than just an info business. That's power. That is influencing people's lives. So your 12-month rollout, first of all, if you take nothing away from this, this little nugget, this little piece, I've received the most feedback out of anything I've ever taught in my career, and it's simply this formula. 3 to 5 products, selling 25 to 35 sales a day at an average price point of $30 is $1 million business. 3 to 5 products, selling 25 to 35 a day, at an average price point of $30. It's $1 million business. And that's really easy to do. And the $1 million point is kind of the pivot point through which something, I say, has proven itself in the marketplace. You have crossed the BS test. You've crossed the tissue test, if you will. You have proven that you have some legs in the marketplace. You're now a business that can be scaled or a business that could be sold as an asset. At about $1 million, 1 to 5 is really the point where you've proven some proof of concept in the marketplace. So if we look at our customers and if we look at the journey that they're already on, whether that be a weight loss journey, or it be a personal development journey, or it be a yoga practice journey, or it be a meditation practice, or it simply be holistic living, or it be parenting, or it be eco-friendly living, whatever journey that they have said, I want you to be my mentor on this journey, they're already buying products to support them on that journey. One of my first physical products brands was a yoga company. Okay, can I name 3 to 5 products that a yogi is going to buy when they're beginning their journey? Can anybody name 3 to 5 products? Just yell them out. Mat, bands, clothes, what else? Towels, blocks. All right, cool, 5, did it, ding, ding, ding. $1 million business, probably much more than that, especially if you already have buyers who are going to Lululemon. They're buying them. They want to buy from you. They want to buy from a person. They want to buy from the influencer that they connect with. They want to buy from the person whose unique spin on the marketplace they already resonate with. That's who they want to connect with. That's who they want to buy from. Well, let's take an obscure one. How about meditation? Can you name 3 to 5 products that the person's already buying in the meditation space? Just throw them out at me. What's that? I have no idea what that is, but 1. I also don't know what that is. That's 2. What else? Okay, what about physical products? What's that? The headbands. What else? How about a meditation cushion? It's a what? Right. What else? Candles, essential oils, diffusers. 6. Awesome. How about weight loss? There's no money in weight loss, by the way. How about in weight loss? 3 to 5 products. Just shout them out. Supplements. There is no money in supplements. What else? Protein drink shake. What else? Bars. A scale. How about like an exercise ball? How about that ab wheel thing? Thigh Master. Oh, yeah. How do you think I'm so confident to wear pink pants in front of you all today as the Thigh Master? What else? For any market. What's that? There you go. And so in the fitness world, you can name 3 to 5 in about half a second. In any market, your customers already buying products on Amazon, buying products at retail stores. And so your only job at your initial phase is to identify, what's my customer already buying from somebody else? Now, the beauty of the world that we live in is that you're already making enough money from your info product business that if your physical products are break even for the first year or 2, you're good. But your revenues are up, your customer loyalty is up, your word of mouth advertising is up, your goodwill with your customers is up, your brandability is up. So what are the 3 to 5 products that your customer is already buying on their hero's journey, as part of their journey to accomplish whatever goal that they're following you in order to achieve. That's your first goal. Your bare minimum next step, put it on Amazon and launch it to your list. You don't need to write another video sales letter. You don't need to build out a Shopify store. You simply put it on Amazon and do all the copy in your email list. Amazon freaks out over this. And ClickBank people, I would really, really like to integrate this seamlessly over at ClickBank, so that when we mail, it drives up the rankings in ClickBank as well. And by the way, you can have Amazon do all that fulfillment in the back end as well. But what happens is Amazon freaks out about this, and what happens? You start going up in the rankings overnight. You want your exercise ball to show up for exercise ball? A few mailings to your list changes that in days. Flood of new buyers. And the best part of this, look, most of the entrepreneurs who are in this world, they release a product, they put it over onto a marketplace, and they're like, shit, what do I do now? So they're running Amazon pay-per-click, they're begging and borrowing and stealing for every review. They're ordering pizza every night. They're going, hey, try out my exercise ball. Will you leave a review on Amazon? They are scrapping and scraping for every review and every sale until the snowball rolls on its own. You hit send. And you rank for whatever keyword you want. It's like Yahoo in 2005. If you are coming to the world, if you're coming to this world with an email list, with a following, you bring a flamethrower to a stick fight, and everybody else gets out of your way. Especially if you're targeting a very specific pain point or a very specific crowd. Because now you're the supplement that solves X problem. Now you are the weight loss solution that solves this pain point. Now you're the food that meets this criteria. Now you're the coffee that doesn't have toxins in it. That differentiation, the same differentiation that you're probably already talking about in your emails, drives up the conversion rate so high that Amazon has nothing else to do except to drive you up in the search results. And you know what else that does? Because you already have loyalty with your audience, they're much more likely to leave reviews, which is the biggest pain point in the physical products world. Now, that's one pain point. The other pain point is people see something like Amazon as their dumping grounds, where they think that's where low-priced products go. But if you treat it like a marketplace, just like you would treat ClickBank like a marketplace, all of a sudden you have customers who can't wait to leave reviews from you because they've already connected with you. And this is the asset that you ultimately can scale and that you can sell. Now, info products have the margins, but very few equity groups, very few investors want to buy information publishing businesses. It happens, but it's rare. Physical products, they want them, as many of them as they can get, especially ones that are following some sort of modern e-commerce practices, like using affiliates, or listing on Amazon, or running Facebook traffic, or on a marketplace like ClickBank. If they're integrated to other people's funnels, are you kidding me? That blows their minds. That's a very, very valuable asset that can be sold. And best of all, you have recurring purchases. You have people who bought one thing from you and they want to buy additional physical products from you, because physical products are a much easier sell than the transformation story. You can send them straight to a listing. The social proof is already there in the form of reviews. And if you're ranking for other keywords, there's enough social proof to where your job is mostly done. Your job is to hit send, drive up your position in the marketplace, and then repeat. The money in here is made not in the transaction of the sale. It's made by building an asset that you ultimately can sell. You're building up an asset that other people want to buy, and guess what? It's separate from your personal following. One recommendation I would make, don't put your face and your name on your physical products brand. Make it something that is directed towards the pain point and the journey that your customer is on. So separate the personal brand, separate the info brand from the physical product, because now one is sellable without sacrificing the other. The one caveat is if you go to sell that at one point, you might have to have some sort of a licensing agreement or some sort of a contract that says you're going to continue to promote that brand. That's sellable, versus if you have your face all over the products, it's not impossible, but it's much, much harder to sell that asset. So your first stage of this business is developing those 3 to 5 products that your customer is already buying. And for you to allow them to buy from you, since they already know, like, and trust you, they want to buy from you, let them. Your second step in this process, assuming that you are cultivating reviews with your customers, assuming that you have good customer support systems, just like you already have in your existing business, it's only then that you need to start thinking about cold media and other promotion channels. It's only then that you need to start treating that business as a separate entity. That is when you can start buying traffic specifically for your physical products funnel. The first 6 months of this business, I've had this debate many, many times of people saying, I don't want to invest the money to do a big round of inventory for my first purchase of a physical products brand because I'm afraid that it's not going to sell. But 100% of the time, a much bigger problem is how do I keep stock? And that's a much, much worse problem, running out of stock. You can always stimulate sales. You can't make a boat go faster. So your only job in the first 3 to 6 months is to get the early adopters and to collect feedback. Because it's those early adopters who will give you reviews that will give you sales forever, that will tell you what products to develop, to tell you what changes to make in your next iteration of the product. Then, when you have that social proof, your next stage of the business is to start driving outside traffic. And that's when you can start operating it like it is a separate business. And it's already profitable at that point because you have several products that are selling sometimes 100 sales a day each through your own list, sometimes through affiliates, and also through the channel that you are using. And by doing that, you have a profitable business that is legitimizing your information, that is giving a clear path for all of this traffic to funnel into. And now, when you have several products that are boosting up the lifetime customer value, you can afford to go and buy traffic specifically for that physical products funnel. Or you can continue to drive the traffic to the info side of the house and use that as the platform to continue launching additional products. One of the things that I never understood, and I think I had the benefit of this coming from this world, is there was no collaboration among physical product sellers. They were all afraid of each other. I would go to these events and they'd be like, I'm not going to tell you the name of my brand. Don't want anybody copying me because I have nothing else to do than start another business than is copying yours. But in this world, we're like, oh, you're in weight loss? I'm in weight loss. Like, some people resonate with you, some people resonate with me. Awesome. Hey, do you want to do an offer too? Right? There's none of this afraid to share knowledge. We're all incentivized to share with one another. And the thing that I never understood in the physical products world was why people didn't collaborate more to promote their physical products. This world sits on a very, very, very unique opportunity. A very unique opportunity to be able to make a splash in what I think is the most attractive sector for businesses to be acquired. It was just a couple weeks ago that the watch company Movement announced that they sold for, or that, I don't know if they sold a majority stake or they took an investment round of $100 million. They just launched, guys. They're just out of the gate. Ancient Nutrition, Dr. Axe, perfect example. They're a content empire. They take on a round of funding of over $100 million. Why? Because they had this much differentiation. Bone broth protein, super saturated market with a rabid audience. And they got those early adopters to vote with their dollars. And they created a new category. Bulletproof is a perfect example. Quest Nutrition did it. No matter what your market is, you're sitting on an opportunity to create a sellable, scalable asset that positions you as more of an authority than you are now, that gives the ability to help more people than you already are. And if you control at least 10,000 eyeballs, you have enough leverage to have a multi-seven-figure business on top of what you're already doing. And most of the brands that I work with are 2 to 4 person shops. And they want what you have, and you're sitting on it. And I think that you are missing out on the greatest opportunity that you might experience as an entrepreneur if you don't give your customers what they're already buying and give them the opportunity to buy from you. Someone who has inspired me, someone who has inspired me, somebody in this world, is the founder of Onnit, Aubrey Marcus. How many of you know and follow Aubrey? So Aubrey has inspired me mostly for the first reason because he followed this process to a T without an audience. He went out and he partnered with the audience. Who did he partner with? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan talks about Onnit. Onnit runs out of stock. They use that to buy the next round of inventory. Joe talks about it again. They run out of stock. Joe talks about it a third time. They start to get their tish together. And now they have a huge business that is impacting people all over the world. Partnered with an audience, had one person who was passionate about the product line. Somebody else had the audience. Hint, hint, hint. JV Ventures right here. They partnered together and they created a world-impacting company. That's the power of having an audience. That's the power of bringing a physical product to a hungry audience that wants what you got. But there's another reason why Aubrey specifically has inspired me. Recently, Aubrey was in a very, very serious car accident, and he should have lost his life. He shouldn't be here. Somehow he didn't walk away from the accident. He's still recovering from the accident. But I've spoken with Aubrey a few times since his accident, and I heard him give a talk about how he views life differently after the accident, how he views business after the accident. Being on the other side of almost losing your life, how does life look different? How does business look different? There's one thing he said that, this is so overblown, this is so overused, but this literally changed my life. He told the story about how in the accident, his physical appearance was mangled. He had scars all over his face. He had swelling in his face. And he realized that he was attached to how he looked, that he got a lot of meaning out of what he looked like. He got a lot of meaning out of the ability to persuade other people by being charming, by putting on the right smile. And I sat on this and I wondered, what am I attached to? What is it that I'm hoping makes me feel like I'm valuable enough? Do I have that? Is that in me? And I sat on this for more than 24 hours with this deep sense of I need to explore this. I need to explore this idea of is that in me? Is that need for validation somewhere in me? And I started to look through my journal and look at my goals. And they were make this much money, have this much body fat, have this many followers. And I looked up at a friend of mine and I said, This person is sad. Whoever wrote this is sad. Whoever wrote this is waiting for some sort of external validation to tell them that they're valuable enough. And it really shook me up because I realized that for the first time in 18 years, I was dealing with the fact that at 12 and 13, I had felt like I was alone and not enough. And that I was trying to extract from the marketplace, trying to sell the next thing, rather than being in a place of, I'm already enough and I have enough to give. In this world, so many of us got into it because we wanted to make money. We got into this world because we didn't want a 9-to-5. We got into this world because I never wanted to worry about a broken washing machine. We got into this world because we wanted the status. We got into this world because somebody else that we knew was living a cool lifestyle. We got into this for ourselves. A lot of us did. And that drove us to learn certain skills. And that drove us to be really high producers. But what I wish someone had told me is that you're already enough. With the money, without the money, with the followers, without the followers, with the successful product, without the successful product, you're already enough. You were always enough, you'll always be enough. And when you recognize that, and you're good no matter what, you no longer have to think about what's going to convert. That becomes a tactic and a skill that you implement through your primary question, which is what is going to be the greatest gift to the customers that are already showing up and voting with their dollars. And when you can operate from that place of what's going to be best for my customers and how do I give the most to them, that is when you're unstoppable. That is when you are freed up to create. That's when people rally behind you and want to support you. It's when you're irresistible to affiliates. It's when you have no problem saying no to the person that you don't want to work with, but who might be politically expedient for you to do business with. It's when you can craft a message and communicate with your customers in a way that make them rabid advocates for however you want to show up in the world. When you can operate from that place of, I'm good and I don't need anything because I already recognize that I'm enough with the money, with the following, or not. That is when you are irresistible to the marketplace, to affiliates, to customers, to acquirers, to partners, and to yourself. So there's one person that I would really like to thank for inspiring this journey for me, because I could not be up here today if it wasn't for the kind words of Pete Symbol, who shook me up enough to want to make a change in my life and gave me the portal to develop the skill set that I have and to force me into the position to where my greatest hurt became my greatest opportunity to give to the world. And all of you have that. You have access to that. Look around, look at you. You health influencers, do you recognize that by getting people to take personal responsibility over the health, you're doing more for healthcare than all of Congress could ever do, ever combined in history? Those of you in the work-at-home space, you're doing more than any legislation, any Democrat, any Republican, any Libertarian, any business person could ever do through government means. That is your impact. That is entrepreneurship. That is capitalism. And in a world that demonizes the wealthy and says you did something unfair, that says you're part of the greedy 1%, I say I am proud of all of you for being in the 1%, and I'm proud of all of you for giving to your customers and giving to the world your greatest gift, which is your own happiness and your own success. And that's why I'm proud to be a part of this community. Thank you all. I love you. Thank you for having me.